Okay, so yeah, talking about defining our values, and just before I go into that, how many of you, and when we think of our values, you know, we're focused on where we want to go, and sometimes we get distracted. And how many of you get distractions sometimes in your life? A funny story. This is real time this morning. About 7 o'clock, a little after 7, I had gotten my son up. We have an autistic son, so I helped him get up and was sitting in my office going over my notes, kind of preparing for this because I was nervous about this, and the doorbell rings. And here's my Amish neighbors. Are great people, but I forgot that about 3 weeks ago he said, if we can't find a driver, can you take us to the hospital when we have our baby? And I opened the door, and this young man stood there. I mean, his eyeballs were this big, and he said, can you take us right now? And I said, absolutely, I have nothing else planned today. So the plan was, my wife wasn't ready to go yet. She was going to take my son to school in Akron and drop a girl that lives with us off in Mount Eden at her job. And so I went down and picked up the neighbor man and his wife, drove up to our house, and then my 15-year-old son, my wife, the 17-year-old girl, and the neighbor and his wife, all 5 left for Mount Eden to go to the hospital to have the baby. So I haven't heard the results yet. Anyway, so I got back to studying. So as was mentioned, and I told Vaughn earlier that from what I'm going to say, how many of you were in Carl's and Vaughn's talks? Okay, so we did not collaborate, but a lot of what some of what you're going to hear, you heard already. And one of the reasons is even some of the same companies is because all of us are looking for companies that are doing things really well and are very successful, and we want to learn from them. Maybe, and not from the same industry. I don't go and try to copy off of other patio manufacturers or poly manufacturers, but we look at how they do things and we apply them, and we tweak it a little bit, and then we apply it to our own company. So, but before we get into this, this is kind of what we're going to be looking at today, the importance of core values at Berlin Gardens. And we established our first ones about 8 years ago, and it took us about a year. So if you're sitting here and your company doesn't have a set of core values, that's okay, just start. And we would revisit every month in the manager's meeting and refine, and we got it down to 5. But so it took us a long time, and then just this past year we went back and we had Rick Newton from Newton Consulting firm out of Pittsburgh came in, and we spent 2 days with him just refining, going all the way back to our DNA, looked at everything and looked at our values again. And then the characteristics of a great set of core values, and then how do you put those to work? Because values, they're not worth much unless you're really doing them. So before we get into it, how many of you in your career, 10, 15, 20 years, have heard the phrase core values probably 100 times? Are you tired of it? So let me ask you this. What does the word core mean? Anybody? Central. That's what we think, like the core of an apple. But if you look at what it means in Latin, it means heart. So let me ask you, when you go to the hospital to visit someone that has a heart condition, what unit of the hospital do you go? Coronary. And when you have surgery, you have coronary what? Bypass, which means heart. So core values, the place where values should reside, develop, and flow out of, should be from your heart. At Berlin Gardens, I tell our people all the time, everything we teach, book studies we do, everything that you're learning here, it needs to start from the inside out, because that's where values should reside, develop, and flow out of. Because if you're here today, how many of you are business owners? How many of you are managers in charge of somebody? I'm going to tell you, if you have a set of core values, if it's not happening in you, it's not going to happen through you. It has to happen on the inside of you. Your organization cannot and will not become what you are not, period. It can't, because it really, in your company, let me ask you, are they poster values or are they core values? Now, we need to have them on posters. We do. In our lunchroom, we have a big 4x8 sheet, has our core values on it. But we have it in every office. We have it in every lunchroom. We put it on our GUIs, on our computer screen savers, has our core values, but they're not just poster values. We talk about it all the time, and we try to live it. And I tell our people, it has to start from the inside out. And you as a leader, it's your responsibility to set the bar. And I like what Carly Fiorini said, set the bar low and your people will walk over it. Set the bar high and people will accomplish a lot more. Some might not reach it, but others will accomplish a lot more. And the ones that aren't willing to buy into your organization's values and culture will leave. You don't have to usually tell them to leave, they'll leave because they're not interested in it. So, just kind of setting the stage to where we're going, and I'm going to talk more on how we did that, but if we get this thing. So culture, we've talked about this before, it's what you believe and it's how you behave. And culture is not built by what you proclaim, it's not what you have on the wall, it's built by what you practice, what you promote, and what you permit. And your business will rise to the level or the standard you set, or it will fall to the level of behavior that you tolerate. And Carl, you had a different version of that too. I think Juan did too, but that is so true. What you permit, what you promote, and what you practice. That is what your culture is. Everybody has one. If you as an owner or manager ignore the guy that's not functioning where you have set the bar, you're telling everybody else in your company, oh, that's okay. Now, you sit down and you talk with them, you tell them and you use your values to tell them where you want them to go. And you don't have to take big steps. A little bit better today than you were yesterday, and a little bit better tomorrow than you were today. Small steps. And for owners and managers who maybe leave here and radically try to change something, usually doesn't work. You'll scare your people. So a little bit at a time. If you permit it, you promote it. So I'd like to show you the next screen. This is not original with me. By the way, Focus 3 is an organization out of Columbus, Tim and Brian Kite. We have been to their seminars. Great organization if you want leadership training. They do a lot with sports, with Ohio State sports, football. They've done a lot of training there. And I had permission to use this one of their slides. But this is what they call the performance pathway. And what they teach is leadership builds culture, and culture drives behavior, and behavior is what produces results. Period. In any organization, whether it's a low-functioning company, a high-functioning company, an elite company, leaders develop culture, culture drives behavior, and behavior produces results. Now, we might say, no, it's my strategy. But if you reverse this and you look at it, let me see where the red button is here. Okay. You can see that it says results come from behaviors, not from strategy. What happens if you have in your company, if you have an A1 strategy and a B- behavior, what do you think you get? Somebody tell me what the grade is. B-. You have to have strategy. We have strategy. We have a 5-year plan at Berlin Gardens. We just launched the second 5-year plan, and we bring somebody in to help us. We meet twice a year. We review the plan. We have champions for each part of it. We have a strategy. We have a budget. But it has to be carried out by the behavior of our people. And behavior comes from our culture, and who develops that culture? The leaders do. And we have to sustain it also. I'm gonna talk about, going the wrong way here. This is just a slide to talk about how some companies function. Our goal at Berlin Gardens is to be this company. Sometimes we have this, and I'm sure all of us experience that. And Carl actually talked about all three companies I'm going to mention. And again, going back to that thing, you look at companies that are doing things really well, and you learn from them. This, to me, is Chick-fil-A. This is McDonald's. I don't go here unless I have to, because I just like how they make me feel. And chicken is good, but it's not really the best chicken. But they have almost a cult-like culture, and they do really well at it. Is there any reason that this company here, per restaurant, is double in sales per year than this one here? Last year in 2018, Chick-fil-A per restaurant sales were 5.6 million. McDonald's was at about 2.6, almost double. And they're open 6 days a week versus 7. How would you like that if you were the CFO? Another company that Carl talked about, Southwest Airlines. Southwest Airlines turns a 737 around faster than any other airline company in the world with fewer employees. You think that affects their bottom line? And they do it with a very healthy culture. And the other company, you talked about the Ritz-Carlton. Why did they charge $1,000 for a night per room? Because they can, because they treat their customers really well. And they are really good at it. And if you ever get the chance, Horst Schultz, Juan actually told me about the book, Excellence Wins. Great book. 3 things he talks about. He was a co-founder of the company. 3 things. No defective products. Who wants to get a defective product in the box from Amazon? Nobody. So 3 things that Horst Schultz taught his people. No defective product, clean towels, clean sheets, on time, and be nice to people. Be nice to people. Ladies and gentlemen, taking care of ladies and gentlemen. That is the performance pathway, is what Focus 3 teaches. So I'm going to shift now into what we did last fall with Newton Consulting. And basically what this is called the Serving Leader Compass, and answers 4 critical questions that form the foundation of a high-performance culture. And that's our goal at Berlin Gardens. My passion at Berlin Gardens is to grow and develop people. I love to see young people come and work for us, and to see them go through our training, and to see them grow and develop and become great leaders at Berlin Gardens or in the community. I tell people all the time, whatever we teach is 5 areas: personally, professionally, at home, community, and if you're in a church, then apply it in your church. It's not just for our company. I want you to be a well-rounded person, and we do it by teaching these things here. Another way, Tim Kite would call this elite performance companies. And so 4 questions that we answered here is who we are, our DNA, how is through our values, what we do, our mission, and why, our great purpose. So I'm going to go through this, not keeping track of time, but I'm going to try and move through this. So our DNA, who we are, your design, your identity, and from which everything flows from. What we did is we went off-site, and if you ever do this, and you can do this on your own, you don't have to hire Newton Consulting, because they don't do it for free, but they are good. But you can get other people to do it. You can do it with just your team, but I would encourage you to go off-site, away from your business, so that you can concentrate. So we went to a local hotel conference room, and for 2 days we focused on this, and Rick was the facilitator. And we brought the former owner of Berlin Gardens in, Adley Raber, and Rick questioned him, why did you start the business? Why did you do the things you do? Then he asked me, it's from where everything flows. Values, how will you operate? The guiding principles that define behavior and priorities. And then mission, what will we accomplish? The story you want to tell in 2 to 3 years. And by the way, I always thought more 5 to 10 years, but as fast as technology is changing and as fast as things are shifting, I like 2 to 3 years because things are changing extremely. The world is so much smaller than it used to be, at least it seems that way. And then the last one is great purpose. Why do we exist? How will you leave the world a better place? So those are the 4 questions that we were asked, and Rick asked us those, and he grilled us. We spent 2 days together, and this is the sheet that we worked off of, connecting with the past. Who are you, our DNA? How will you operate? Why does your organization exist? What is your great purpose? What will you accomplish, your mission? And I'm going to focus today on this one here, is where we refined Berlin Gardens values. And we spent quite a bit of time on this. And your values should flow out of your company's DNA, out of who you are and why you exist. Our DNA, we are visionary serving leaders. In other words, we are constantly looking at the future. In our industry, the majority of our sales is in patio furniture, so we're dealing with colors and design all the time. We have to be looking like we have to be designing 2 years ahead because we have to test our furniture. We don't want to sell a chair that's going to break. And so we have to be looking out there, constantly looking ahead. Developing and grow an empowered workforce. One of the things that I would just encourage you with after you have your values established is to give your people ownership of it. If you want to get things done in your company, then you empower your people. Allow your people to make mistakes. I tell our managers all the time, if you're not making some mistakes, you're not doing your job. Don't just do what I say. Yeah, we have a set of core values, a mission, and we have a way we do things, but don't be afraid to say, hey, I just thought of this the other day. Can we try this? Yeah, you're not a lone ranger where you do it on your own, but you check with some of your other workers and you want to try things. So empower your people. And then the third one, enhance our customers' outdoor world. And I think it was Vaughn, you talked about what our vision statement should be. And I agree with you. You sometimes almost feel like you're bragging, but our vision statement should really be something that is almost unattainable. I like what you said, because our vision statement has in that we globally impact people by providing them with quality furniture. So, and we wanted the word globally in there because I'll never accomplish that in my lifetime, but maybe the next generation will. So that was good, that's okay. So this is where it flows out of. And here, we established these core values 8 years ago, and if you look, first letter spells heart because everything has to flow from the inside out. So we revisited all of these and we looked at, do we want to change them? Do we want to add? Do we want to take away? And then we added, we described how do we do this, and this is very important. If you have core values, that you tell your people how you do this. So we fulfill our commitment to employees, customers, and the community. We do what we say. If you want to know the key to marketing your product, then if you're not already doing it, start under-promising and over-delivering. You don't have to do much marketing if you do what you say, and you do it every day, over and over. It's a simple thing. Efficiency, we steward God's resources by being prompt, proficient, and accurate. Attitude, we daily choose, and here, one of the keys here is that word right there. We daily choose to serve others with a positive mindset regardless of the circumstances. And the way I look at this is there is no such thing as bad weather. You only have either a raincoat with holes in it or no boots. And that's the way I look at life every day. That's how we look at life at Berlin Gardens. There is no such thing as a bad day. And it comes down to our attitude. And we daily choose to serve others. That means, and one of the keys is your internal customers. Who are your internal customers? It's the guy sitting next to you. It's the secretary at the front desk. One of the best things that you can do as an owner is to walk through your shop, plant, or any organization, and you go up to someone and say, what's the most frustrating thing about your job? And believe me, they know. And it might be because their copier's not working, or their printer's not working, or something, a $10 item's not working, and they've told their superior, and he or she hasn't done anything about it. Go get one for her. If you're not doing that, start doing it. You'd be amazed what kind of a culture you can create when you start doing that. Respect, we practice the golden rule by valuing and caring for others. One of the things about respect is that I tell our people all the time, I don't care if you're the youngest and the newest employee here. If you see something or you have an idea, I want you to tell us. Might not use it, but with your idea and my idea and Dave's idea, we'll come up with a great idea that's the best for the company. And then the last one is trust. We empower by believing in the integrity and the ability of our people. And I really like that this one is at the bottom, because I think this one comes from 7 Habits guy, Steve, forget his name. Covey, yeah. That trust is the foundation of leadership, and the trust is the foundation of an organization. Why do you go to the airport 2 hours early? Well, most of us don't anymore, but why are you supposed to? Because we have to go through scanners, body scanners, all your bags. Because why? Because they don't trust us, and it slows everything down, right? Doesn't speed it up. If you can't be trusted, it will slow everything down. If you have a coworker or you have a secretary or a manager who you can't trust, you have to do what? You have to double check all his work. So trust will always speed things up. And the number one thing that your employee will ask of you as a leader when he starts working for you is, can I trust him? Period. Whether they verbalize it or not, mentally they think it. Can I trust him? Always. So after we had refined these, we actually went through and we looked at which ones are the most important to us. And to me, they're all 5 important, but out of our group of managers, they picked honesty as the most important one. Doesn't matter what you believe or what for faith you are. If you have an accountant or a CFO working for you, do you want him to be honest? Absolutely. Do you want anybody to be honest? You want your accountant to be honest? Or do you want to pay back taxes 5 years from now? No, you want honesty. Second one that we came up with was respect, that we just show respect to everyone, even though we don't agree with each other all the time. And we can have some really hard conversations, but we do it respectfully. We don't throw each other under the bus. You always praise in public and you reprimand in private. That's one of the rules that we have set at Berlin Gardens for all managers. You praise in public and you reprimand in private. The third one was attitude, and then the fourth one was efficiency, and then the last one was trust. So I'm going to go to the next screen is where it talks about actually putting our values to work. And this is called the employee life cycle framework. So in recruiting, values are included in all job postings as a part of interview questions asking how candidates have demonstrated Berlin Gardens values. And then onboarding, values are emphasized during orientation. We capture and tell stories. And then managing, we include values in every employee's annual performance objective. I don't like the word annual. It should be real time. If I see Brian doing something really well, I should compliment him. If I see him doing something that violates our core values, I should tell him. It wouldn't work at Christmas time to tell Johnny the day before Christmas, you had a terrible July. You ain't getting anything, buddy. And you tell Susie, you did really good in May, here's your gift. We laugh at that. But that's what we do with annual performance reviews, right? So our goal at Berlin Gardens is to have real time. We don't always get it done, but that should be our goal. Promoting, and then also in exiting. Values violations are one of the primary reasons someone is exited from Berlin Gardens. We just had a guy that was there for 25 years, excellent employee. He could have any position he wants at Berlin Gardens because of the way the values that he promoted and the way he went about his work. Well, he had the opportunity to buy his in-laws' farm, so he's sheep farming. But you know what I did? I hired him to come back once a month, one day a month as a consultant to walk through he was our lean process guru, and he loved to study lean, and so he comes back once a month, and I pay him well to come back one day a month. Subsidizes the sheep farming. So I'm gonna end with just a couple other things that, with all the values that you have, if you have them established, here's communicating clearly to your employees is so important. Your values, because there's 5 things in the study of human relationships and people. There are 5 things that every employee wants to know. They want to know, where are we now? Where are we going? How are we going to get there? What do you want me to do? And how am I doing? So where are we now? That's our current state. Where are we going? That's vision. How are we going to get there? That's strategy. What do you want me to do? And that's talking about the 20 square feet, what you're in control of. A lot of employees complain about what's out there and don't worry about the 20 square foot principle, what you can actually do. And then, how am I doing? Feedback. If we're not giving that to them, who is? Nobody. So we as leaders are responsible to answer these questions for our employees because they all want to know. You might be able to find it on Twitter or no, but that's probably not the best feedback. So make sure your people know that. And then the last one here is just 4 things that every employee needs. They need clarity. And maybe communication should be first, and we talked about that earlier, but communicate your core values. Clarity precedes excellence every time. If you're not clear what the expectations are, you're not going to have excellence from your people. And then accountability, we kind of shy away from that word, but the accountability that I'm referring to is you walk through your organization, through your plant, and you find people doing something good, and you compliment them for it. You tell them, thank you, and be specific. Don't just say, thank you for doing a good job. But it's really important that if you're an owner or a manager or a supervisor, that you catch your people doing something well and compliment them for it. But then also hold them accountable for living out your core values, and then support. Going back to what I said, ask your people, what's the biggest frustration in your job? And help them get rid of it. And if you do these things, your people will take your company a lot further than what you ever expected that you can go. And going back to the whole thing of values, we use that when we meet with people. I asked Vaughn this morning, do you use it when you meet with people that aren't doing so well? Yes, we do. And we just, a month ago, we met with one of our employees, and our general manager met with him and said, he told him, he said, you violated 4 of our core values in this incident. And he had a good talk. He admitted that he did. So I'll just open it up for, got a couple minutes. Any questions or any comments, anything that kind of sparked in your mind that you do in your business? Any feedback?
One of the best companies for core values would probably be Disney.
Disney. Mm-hmm.
Because of what they teach people, and those people take that through them the rest of their lives.
I don't know what their core values are. It'd be interesting to find out.
Yeah, they have some great ones. Where one of the things they teach them is you're responsible for the world. If there's litter on the ground, you stop and you pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
And people will say even after they're done working for Disney, if they see litter on the ground, they stop and pick it up. That's how much it's ingrained in them.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah, some of their core values.
Okay, good question.
What's the number one thing employees want from their company or from their employer?
Well, people want a great culture to work for. Because we have a lot of parents that come to us and say, would you have a job for my 18-year-old child? Because I hear you have a good culture. Very seldom do now we try to pay a fair price and treat our people well, but very seldom do they say, I want my 18-year-old son to work here because you pay well. Mm-mm. They want an environment that is a healthy environment. And people, by the way, people want to be on a journey, especially millennials. So when you hire people, think journey, don't think job. So if you hire an 18-year-old and you can tell them that this is where we're going, this is what's going to be happening in the next 5 years, there's good people going to come work for you. They'll want to come work for you. I don't know if that answers your question. They want a safe environment. So we have probably 24 Amish girls working for us. They're better at running the CNC routers than the guys are. And so now they're 4 or 5 years and they get married, but you know what? The work ethic is amazing, and their parents want a safe place for their daughter to work. Anything else? Okay, well, thanks for your time. I hope you can take something home and apply it to your life.